There are two ways to escape the absurd. The first is obvious: physical suicide, and your consciousness, and the confrontation, and the unbearable tension between your need for meaning and the universe's silence. But there's a second escape, more subtle, more common, and in Camus' eyes, more dangerous. He calls it philosophical suicide, and you've probably committed it without even realizing it. Philosophical suicide is when you take a leap of faith, when you decide to believe in something that dissolves the absurd by promising ultimate answers, ultimate meaning, ultimate truth. God, the soul, cosmic justice, eternal purpose. These beliefs allow you to live as if the absurd doesn't exist. But Camus says this is intellectual dishonesty. It's sacrificing your reason for the comfort of hope. It's turning away from the truth because the truth is too hard to bear. And once you understand what philosophical suicide is, you'll see it everywhere. Let's be clear about what Camus means by the absurd, because we need precision here. The absurd is not a property of the world. It's not a property of human consciousness. It's the relationship between the two. It's what happens when a meaning-seeking creature confronts a meaningless universe. We ask why. The cosmos doesn't answer. We demand clarity. Reality offers none. We need things to make sense. And the fundamental structure of existence refuses to make sense on our terms. That gap, that collision, that's the absurd. And it requires both terms to exist. Take away human consciousness, and there's no one to feel the absurdity. Take away the silent universe, and there's nothing to feel absurd about. The absurd lives in the space between. Now, once you become conscious of this, once you really feel it, you face a choice. You can't unfeel it. You can't go back to naive ignorance. The question has been asked and it won't go away. So what do? Camus identifies three traditional responses. Physical suicide. Eliminate your consciousness. Philosophical suicide. Eliminate the absurd by inventing meaning. Or revolt. Live fully in the tension without escape. Most people, when they first encounter the absurd, are tempted by one of the first two options. And philosophical suicide is particularly seductive because it doesn't look like surrender. It looks like courage. It looks like faith. It looks like transcendence. The classic example is Søren Kierkegaard, the Danish philosopher, the father of existentialism. He understood the absurd. He felt it deeply. He wrote about the anxiety, the dread, the despair that comes from confronting existence without guarantees. He knew that reason cannot prove God exists. He knew that faith cannot be justified rationally. He knew that if you demand logical proof, you'll find none. And yet, he said, you must believe anyway. You must make what he called the leap of faith. You must embrace the irrational, embrace the paradox, embrace the absurdity of religious belief itself, and through that embrace, you find God. You find meaning. You escape the terrible freedom of the absurd. Camus respects Kierkegaard. He acknowledges the courage it takes to stare into the abyss and then choose to believe despite everything. But he cannot follow, because for Camus, this leap is a betrayal of reason, a betrayal of lucidity, a betrayal of the very consciousness that makes us human. Kierkegaard sees the absurd and then closes his eyes and jumps into faith. Camus says we must keep our eyes open. We must stay in the absurd. We must refuse the comfort of false hope. Because once you sacrifice your reason, once you decide that truth doesn't matter as much as consolation, you've lost something essential. You've killed a part of yourself to make the rest comfortable. And that's what Camus means by philosophical suicide. You haven't ended your physical life, but you've ended your intellectual life. You've stopped thinking clearly. You've stopped demanding honest answers. You've accepted illusion as a substitute for truth. But it's not just religion. Philosophical suicide takes many forms. Any system of thought that promises to resolve the absurd, that claims to have found the ultimate answer, that asks you to stop questioning and just believe, that's philosophical suicide. Marxism did this for many people in Camus' time. It said, history has a direction, a purpose, a goal. The dialectic is working itself out. Suffering now is justified by the utopia to come. Just believe in the revolution. Just trust the process. Just sacrifice your doubts on the altar of historical necessity. and millions of people took that leap. They needed to believe that their suffering meant something, that history was on their side, that the universe, or at least human society, was moving toward justice. But Camus saw this as another form of the same escape, another way of avoiding the hard truth that existence has no inherent direction, no cosmic plan, no guaranteed happy ending. Even some forms of philosophy commit philosophical suicide when philosophers construct elaborate systems that claim to explain everything, that fit all of reality into a neat logical structure, that resolve all contradictions into a higher synthesis. They're often just dressing up hope in philosophical language. Hegel did this. His dialectic promised that contradictions would resolve, that spirit would achieve self-knowledge, that history would culminate in absolute knowing. It's beautiful. It's intellectually impressive. But it's also, from Camus' perspective, a way of escaping the absurd. It's saying, yes, things seem meaningless and contradictory now, but trust me, at the highest level of understanding, it all makes sense. Just have faith in the system. Just to believe that reason can master reality. And Camus says no. Reason cannot master reality. Reality remains fundamentally alien to our categories. And admitting that is more honest than constructing elaborate systems to hide it. Here's what makes philosophical suicide so dangerous. It's invisible to the person committing it. If you ask someone who has made the leap of faith whether they're being intellectually honest, they'll say yes. They'll say they've found truth. They'll say they've achieved a higher understanding. They won't see it as escape. They'll see it as arrival. They'll feel liberated, not trapped. And that's precisely the problem. Philosophical suicide feels like salvation. It relieves the tension. It answers the questions. It makes life bearable again. And because it works, because it makes people happier, it's hard to argue against. Camus isn't saying religious people are stupid or cowardly. He's saying they've chosen comfort over truth, and that's a choice he cannot make. But let's be honest about what Camus is asking of us. He's asking us to live without hope, not without happiness, not without meaning, but without hope for ultimate redemption, for cosmic justice, for eternal significance. He's asking us to accept that when we die, we simply cease, that our actions have no transcendent importance, that the universe will not remember us, that there is no judge weighing our souls, no afterlife waiting, no grand narrative we're part of, just this life here, now, temporary and finite and ultimately meaningless in any cosmic sense. That's a lot to accept. That's a lot to live with. And it's no wonder most people refuse. It's no wonder most people, when confronted with this vision, reach for something, anything, that offers an alternative. Camus understands the temptation. He doesn't judge people for it. Not really. What he judges is the intellectual dishonesty of pretending you haven't made a choice, of pretending your faith is rational when it's not, of pretending you've found answers, when what you've really found is a way to stop asking questions. Be honest about what you're doing. If you're leaping into faith, admit it's a leap. Admit you're sacrificing reason. Admit you're choosing hope over lucidity. Don't pretend it's something else. Do you want to pretend you've solved the absurd when what you've done is decided to stop feeling it? And here's the crucial point. Philosophical suicide doesn't actually eliminate the absurd. It just covers it up. The absurd is still there, underneath the faith, underneath the hope, underneath the system, and it can resurface at any moment. In moments of doubt, in moments of suffering so intense that your beliefs crack, in moments when you're alone with yourself and the old questions come back. Why am I itty? What is the point? And if your answer depends on God or history or some cosmic plan, then you're building your life on a foundation that can crumble because you can't prove any of it. You can't know for certain. You can only believe, and belief, no matter how strong, is not the same as knowledge. Camus offers a different path. Instead of escaping the absurd through faith, embrace it. Accept that life has no inherent meaning. Accept that the universe doesn't care about you. Accept that you will die and be forgotten, and that everything you build will eventually crumble to dust. Accept all of this without flinching, and then, in full awareness of the meaninglessness, create your own meaning. Not ultimate meaning, not cosmic meaning, but human meaning. The meaning that comes from living fully, consciously, passionately in defiance of the void. This is what Camus calls revolt. Not violent revolution, but existential revolt. The refusal to be crushed by meaninglessness. The decision to say yes to life even though life offers no justification for itself. This is harder than faith. Much harder. Faith gives you answers. Revolt gives you nothing but the struggle itself. Faith promises reward. Revolt promises nothing. Faith offers community, tradition, cosmic significance. Revolt offers only your own choices, your own values, your own temporary creations in a universe that will outlast them all. But what revolt offers that faith cannot is honesty, intellectual integrity, the freedom that comes from not needing external validation. You're not waiting for God to tell you your life matters. You're not waiting for history to vindicate you. You're not deferring meaning to some imagined future. You're creating meaning now in the only moment you actually have. Think about what you believe. Really think about it. Do you believe in God? Do you believe in cosmic justice? Do you believe that everything happens for a reason? Do you believe that the universe is fundamentally good, or at least heading toward good? And ask yourself honestly, why do you believe these things? Is it because you have evidence? Is it because reason leads you there? Or is it because you need to believe them? Because the alternative, the possibility that none of it is true, is too painful to accept. If it's the second, if you're believing because you need to, not because you're compelled to by evidence or logic, then you've committed philosophical suicide. You've sacrificed truth for comfort. And Camus would say you're lying to yourself. But maybe you don't care. Maybe you think, so what? So what if it's not rational? So what if I'm choosing hope over certainty? Life is better with faith. Life is more bearable with the belief that it all means something. And isn't that enough? Shouldn't we choose the beliefs that make us happier, healthier, more functional, even if we can't prove they're true? This is the pragmatist argument. And it's powerful. But Camus rejects it, absolutely. Because once you start choosing beliefs based on utility rather than truth, where do you stop? Once you say it's okay to believe something you want to prove because it makes you feel better, you've opened the door to any delusion, any fantasy, any lie that serves psychological need. And Camus values truth more than happiness. He values lucidity more than comfort. He would rather face reality as it is, no matter how harsh, than live in a beautiful dream. This is what makes Camus so uncompromising, so difficult, so uncomfortable. He won't give you easy answers. He won't tell you it's all going to be okay. He won't promise that your suffering has secret purpose. He'll just stand with you in the silence and say, this is it. This is all there is. And you can either face it or run from it. But if you run, if you commit philosophical suicide, don't pretend you're doing something else. Don't pretend you're being brave. You're being human. You're being understandable, but you're not being honest. And honesty, for Camus, is the highest value. Higher than hope, higher than happiness, higher than faith. So here's my question for you, and I want you to really sit with this. What leap have you taken? What do you believe without evidence? Because you need to believe it. What philosophical suicide have you committed to make life bearable? And more importantly, are you okay with that? Are you comfortable sacrificing reason for hope? Or does some part of you, maybe a small part you usually ignore, know that you're avoiding something? Know that you've closed your eyes when Camus is asking you to keep them open. Because that's the challenge. That's what this philosophy demands. Stay awake. Stay lucid. Stay honest. Don't comfort yourself with lies, no matter how beautiful. Face the absurd and refuse to escape. Not because it's easy, not because it makes you happy, but because it's true. And truth, even terrible truth, is better than comforting illusion. That's the wager Camus makes. And it's the wager he's asking you to make too. Welcome to philosophical suicide. Welcome to the hardest question of all. Welcome to Camus Speaks.